show of mystery. It's the Forbidden Show of Mystery.
Welcome back, my friends, to the Forbidden Show of Mystery. I am Ben Craven, a cinematic, progressive rock artist from Brisbane, Australia, keeping the spirit of the 70s alive with a healthy dose of 21st century film soundtrack music. And I didn't even have to read that. Before we get started, I've quickly got to plug my Bandcamp site. Look, my entire discography on Bandcamp is now on sale for 35% discount. That's to get the whole chunk. So if you want to know what the fuss is all about, or you want to know what the fuss should be about, go to Bandcamp, links in the description below, 35% off the entire discography. Just click on any release and you'll see the link to it. Now this is going to stick around until the Monsters from the Id pre-sale is announced in a bit over a week. So do yourself a favour. But first up, there has been some new music of note. So let's go to
New music
from old artists.
Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point. I've been waiting 17 years for this release, I don't mind saying. The last album we got was in 2005, Everybody Loves a Happy Ending. Just an absolutely tremendous album, track after track of just immediate dopamine, but standing up to consistent re-listening. It's just great stuff. It's far and away my favourite Tears for Fears album. And now we have The Tipping Point. Now this was preceded by a couple of singles. The title track is the first one that came out, and it's still, to me, far and away the best thing on the album. I've listened to it once, and there's enough there to know that this is something that is going to hold up to repeated listens. I didn't find anything as immediately seductive as The Tipping Point, but that's a pretty big ask because that track is so tremendous. But you can tell a lot of care, a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of craftsmanship has gone into this piece of work. Now I'm still waiting for my surround edition to show up on the Blu-ray disc. I believe it's mixed by Stephen Wilson. Fun fact, the surround version of my new album, Monsters from the Id, is not mixed by Stephen Wilson. So anyway, we'll see how that holds up. Been watching some of the interviews Roland and Kurt are doing around the album, and the backstory is fascinating, where for some reason, I cannot figure out why, they were convinced by their manager to go into the studio, but they had to write with modern hit-making songsmiths. They were going in there to make singles, as if being Tears for Fears wasn't enough. So somehow they were convinced to do this. They thought it was a good idea. Roland says they came up with about 10 songs, which were okay. Kurt then left the band, saying, this is not what I want Tears for Fears to be doing. Roland says, yeah, you're right. They pick 5 of those songs that they've already worked on and choose to rework them. They write more stuff. And then we've actually got an album now, The Tipping Point. What I find completely baffling is how their manager convinced them that hit singles are what they needed, or that their self-confidence wasn't quite there to do things their own way. And we're fortunate that the single writing process didn't turn out, otherwise we wouldn't have wound up with this tremendous album. So it's 17 years. Roland says that's a good way to bookend their career, which is suggesting there's not going to be another album after this, who knows, but it stands up with the best of their work, and I'm looking forward to get to know it better. So this is now as good a time as any for a studio update.
And now it's time for a studio update.
Okay, the self-indulgent studio update. This is all going to be about Monsters from the Id, my new album. The last few weeks have been all about dotting the T's and crossing the I's, getting the videos done, getting the manufacturing sorted out, getting the distributors on board, getting the press release ready. All this kind of boring background activity you don't even think about when you go in to make an album. So this will have a traditional kind of release promo campaign. You know, the album will be going out to websites and magazines and review sites and standard promo like that. However, I've also got the single edit approach. So I'm okay to tell you this because I know no one's going to be watching, but the kind of indie promotional methods that seem to be in fashion at the moment are releasing a single track quite often, quite regularly. So every 2 months is ideal, apparently. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do one every 4 weeks. I've got 4 single edits on the album, and every 4 weeks leading up to the actual release date, there will be a new single coming out. Part of that strategy, though, is to be able to release something new every week. So while I have actual videos, or I will call them visualizers because they're not strictly properly filmed videos in the sense of what you would traditionally expect. But regardless, I'm very conscious of the way where if you hear a song for the first time and you're watching it with a video, that video imagery and the music seem to lock together, and it's very difficult to separate the two later on, at least in my case. I'm going to put out each single firstly without the visualizer. So still image or lyric video, depending on the song. Then there's the visualizer, video clip. A couple of episodes ago, I was talking about trying to recreate the surround sound experience in binaural audio. So there's the binaural mix. That'll be another clip with the video. You kind of see where this is heading. So it's about having enough content to leak things out week after week, hopefully to keep people engaged or even start them talking. So these singles will be released on, YouTube, the usual places, and the streaming services, which, I'm not a huge fan of, but it is a game I need to play. Now, somewhat related to this, I've got a very interesting letter for Ask Dr. Ben.
Got questions? Need answers? Go ahead. Ask Dr. Ben.
Anonymous from Brisbane, Australia writes, Dear Ben, I would like to get my music on streaming platforms and download stores. Which digital distributor should I use? Should I use CD Baby, TuneCore, or DistroKid? Yours, not Ben Craven. Thank you, Anonymous. So as it turns out, this is an issue that I was looking into a few weeks ago. If I'm going to play the streaming game, I've got to find the right digital aggregator to supply the music to the streaming stores. I have a history of using CD Baby, but there are very good reasons not to continue with their services. I checked out the differences between them and came up with a winner for me. So before we get started, Webster's Dictionary defines digital as composed of data in the form of binary digits, and distribution is the act or process of distributing. And that concludes our 4-week intensive course. So look, realistically, we're talking about getting music up on the streaming services and also into the digital stores, for instance, the iTunes. I don't know if anyone actually buys music from these places anymore, but there's still a place to put the music at. And as I mentioned earlier, the plan is to leak a bunch of singles. In my case, it's 4 singles. So this is still a game I have to play. And realistically, the only distributors I was looking at were CD Baby, TuneCore, and DistroKid. CD Baby because historically they used to distribute my CDs in the US. That was back when physical was a thing, and since then CD Baby has had to change their business model a bit to concentrate more on digital, but it still feels like it's the same CD Baby it always was. What's interesting about them is they charge per song or per album. So if we're in an age where it is recommended that people release a song every 2 months to stay current and consistently promote, we're talking at $10 US a pop here. So this actually starts to add up. Not in the old days where you put out an album every so often, but if you're talking about putting a single out every so often, it starts to get a bit expensive. Which is a shame for me because having used CD Baby in the past, now I had to put some effort into finding something else. The next place I looked at was TuneCore. I chose that because they'd been around for a while. I'd seen the ads, I'd seen people talking about it, but the prices were, let's say it's even more expensive than CD Baby. We're talking $10 a single per year for distribution, so, or $30 per year. Oh, look at that, $50 per year for each album. So, yeah, that was quick to rule out. And then the other mob I looked at was DistroKid, that had been recommended to me by a few people and by a bunch of videos that I'd seen, especially as an alternative for people coming from CD Baby. It's a slightly different model. It is a yearly subscription, and then within that year you can distribute as much as you like. So if you're a single musician for $20 US a year, you can release unlimited material. You've got to keep up that subscription to keep the money coming in. So in the end, I'm using DistroKid for Monsters from the Id. The main reason is for those 4 singles that I want to release at different stages. For the cost of those singles and the album, essentially I've got a yearly subscription, and then I can go on and release other music, make other music available, not necessarily under my name. It could be under Extemporizers, it could be under Bennett's Craven, it could be under one of the other projects I've got ready to go. So, you know, what's right for me may not be right for you, but it does seem to me that we're moving towards a single-driven streaming world. And now it is time for the return of TuneLeak TV. Okay, I have a confession to make. I don't actually have a segment for TuneLeak TV. I just wanted to remind everyone that it exists, that it is a thing. It will be back next episode, where we're going to walk through the first single from Monsters from the Id. So I hope you're as excited about that as I am. So that's all for today. Thank you for sticking with me. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are safe and well. There's a lot going on at the moment. A lot of this stuff pales into insignificance. Thank you again to my patrons. I love you guys, and here you are. You make things possible that would otherwise be impossible. So the big announcement, the pre-release announcement's coming up in just over a week's time, and I'll be so happy to start getting this material out there and out of here. Talk to you soon.